I think I am. All right. I think I am there. Wow. Okay. I just never know. I've done this a couple times, but it's still brand new, is what it feels like. And I haven't done it for a couple of weeks. And if you don't use it, you lose it. But aloha, everybody. It is 11:30. I'm actually starting on time. My name is Kaala Souza, and I'm working with the Workforce Development Council. And we've been doing. Oh, shucks. I got things going on that shouldn't be going on. Hang on. Man, okay. So we have all kinds of things happening, but I'm working with the Workforce Development Council, and we've been doing these live streams for several months now, mostly to talk about the future of work here in Hawaii, the future of work around the world, really. We've had people from LinkedIn Learning, Coursera, people who talk about skills and the new skills that are going to be required for living, working, being successful in the future of work, in what work is going to require for us going forward. So I'm super, super excited today. I feel like I haven't had, I don't know, I've been super busy, first of all, which is why we haven't done any of these live streams, and busy getting some digital literacy upskilling started. We have rolled out the in-person free computer classes around the state. So partnering with the state libraries, that is going on. That is happening. The UH community colleges, every community college has been offering these classes around the state. They're free. They're 3 hours. They're an introduction to computers. So if you're watching this on YouTube, my guess is that you're already pretty advanced, all right? Which means that if you went to this class and we're talking about left clicking and right clicking and double clicking, you probably want to pull your eyebrows out. So it's a little bit too slow. But if you are at somebody who has some legitimate lack of understanding of computers, it's not something that you're born with, right? You don't know how to use a mouse when you're born. So if you're at a level less than 0, then this class is exactly right. So we're super excited about that. We're trying to make sure that Hawaii is positioned going forward as one of the most digitally literate places. I'm going to say in the world. I've been saying in the country, but I'm going to go out on the limb and say in the world. Hawaii used to have one of the highest reading literacy rates back in the 1800s. Little small quick tip here, a little fact. The U.S. literacy rate back in 1870 was approximately 78%. I don't know how they figured this kind of stuff out, but that's what I hear. The worldwide literacy rate was 19. So America, very, very high reading literacy. But Hawaii was over 90%. So we have one of the highest reading literacy rates of any nation in the world. And now what we're trying to do with this Workforce Resiliency Initiative, Allison Tasaka, WDC, we're trying to make sure that Hawaii is prepared for this future by making sure that we have these future skills. And so on our live stream this morning, it is still morning, right? It's 11:33. On our live stream this morning, thank you. I'm super excited because we're going to be talking to somebody from here. No, not from Mo'okini, but not from there. And we were just talking about this before, but this is not yesterday because there are so many people there. But we're going to be talking to somebody from Maui, talking specifically about the future of work, the future of the economy in Maui, the county of Maui, the island of Maui. And I'm super, super excited. It's going to be Leslie Wilkins, and that's her up there. But I wanted to just introduce her for a moment. I've known Leslie now for a couple of years here, working at the WDC, and she's been just amazing. The wealth of knowledge here, the awareness, understanding of all things workforce, not just Maui, but not just the state of Hawaii, but around the country, is just mind blowing for me. And so we're going to be talking and trying to get some of that stuff out of her head onto this live stream. And obviously, this is very agricultural views here, but we're talking about work and how that looks. And so, Leslie Wilkins, you are the president, the CEO of the Maui Economic Development Board, and I am just Kaala, but very, very proud and privileged to have you on our live stream here. Welcome.
Well, aloha, Kaala. I'm excited to be on the live stream with you because you always make all presentations exciting and energetic and you show your passion. So I'm delighted to be with you. Today, I'm actually here in the Research and Technology Park on Maui in South Maui, PA. Okay. It is home to Maui Economic Development Board, which I'm honored to serve as president and CEO, and lots of tech initiatives out here, including the Maui High Performance Computing Center, the Vanguard Center, which, by the way, has its first, starting July 1, just has its first Kamehameha School graduate female CEO, Tiare Martin, who just started July 1. So we're excited about
What?
that.
Nice.
Absolutely. And several other homegrown tech initiatives here in the park, which we are working hard to continue to grow and grow the resident trained workforce for those skilled jobs. So thanks for letting me do a little commercial for the Maui Research and
I
Tech
didn't
Park.
let you. You just took over. You just took that over. So if you want to ask me some questions, feel free, but you just definitely, this is your live stream. You do what you want to do on this. You are Leslie
So,
Wilkins, and I'm so happy to have you on this.
well, thanks, Colin. Thanks for the kind introduction. I really appreciate that. I think what it all boiled down to is that I've been around for a long time. I'm old. I've been working in this for a long time. So I've had a few experiences and have watched workforce development is clearly my passion. I was hired by my current employer, MEDB, to lead a STEM education initiative to bring more residents and more women into technology, more Native Hawaiian students into technology to build that resident trained workforce. And that has been 21 years ago. Hard to believe,
Oh
but it
my.
is. So, and I've, been a partner with the Department of Labor, the U.S. Department of
Yes.
Labor, and DLIR through all of that to try to braid private sector investment with public sector investment in growing our workforce. Um, you asked me to give a quick update on where we are in Maui
Yeah,
and
wait,
Maui
wait, wait, wait!
County.
Don't go
No,
yet. You don't go
don't
yet.
go.
No, 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 no. Well, you're going. You're just overloading my mind right now. I got to go back. We were looking at this picture. I mean, some of this scenery over here, and I'm gonna have to jump in and say Maui no Kaoi on this. Huh?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It is beautiful. There's no question about it. And you're looking at the physical landscape and the
Hmm.
beauty of that. But the true beauty of Maui no Kaoi, it's our people. The
Uh,
people of Maui County are extraordinary. They're truly big heart. They live the aloha spirit. They care about their neighbors. That was brought to the fore with such incredible
yeah,
generosity and support during the pandemic when people were hurting so badly and still continue to be
yeah.
very, very challenged right now. The sharing and bringing the community together is just a demonstration of how incredible Maui County people are.
Thanks for refocusing me on that. Because sometimes we do get like, oh, look at this beautiful scenery. There's a Hana highway. But it's true when we say Maui no Kaoi. When we talk about Hawaii, I think it has to be. I mean, certainly the waves are good,
The
beaches are
waves are
great, but
good.
the people, not poe. Like it is our people that make aloha happen. And so I'm super super just thrilled to talk about specifically about Maui. And so I mean, I was thinking we could talk about where Maui is, where Maui came from out of the pandemic, maybe, and even a little bit about what you think, the future may be. Because I've become something of I'm calling myself a couch, not a couch surfer, but a couch futurist. Like,
Hey,
which you can't really,
I think
you
there's
can't critique
a
me. You can't.
role for that. Absolutely.
So I'm kicking back on my couch. I think about the future, and then you can't know if I say 50 years from now, this is what I think. How are you going to test me on this? We have to come back 50 years from now. So that's what I want to look at just a little bit of kind of that future, maybe about some of your vision, for where Maui can be. That's what I think of vision. And tell me a little bit about where we are right now. I was reading some newspaper things and saying that Maui residents are a little overloaded with tourism,
Wow.
but where is Maui at economically, business wise, people wise? I mean, give me just a little bit about that.
Well, there was no question. Maui made the headlines as the pandemic unfolded. We went from the lowest unemployment rate in the nation in a 2 week period to the highest in the nation, with more than 40,000 people out to our community. And what brought to the attention is
Hang on just a second. Where did she go? Hang on. Man, I was saying this is gonna be our best one, And then I'm losing Leslie on this. Where are you, Leslie? Don't leave me hanging. Don't leave me hanging. So this is not Leslie, obviously. This is me. Here she comes. I'm trying to get her back on here. Give me just a few seconds. Let's see how digitally literate I am on this. I don't see you, Leslie. Where are you? Hang on. Don't leave me. This is what I want. I need you here. Are you there? You're there, Leslie?
I'm there. I
Okay,
don't
wait.
think that was me. We've got pretty good bandwidth in the tech park.
Oh, now you're flexing on me. Now you're flexing. Now
I'm
you're
not
straight up flexing.
bragging, honestly.
You have to. Yeah, you have to. Let me see if I can get this back. Yeah. I Oh, there we go. We're back. For whatever reason, maybe I'm pushing buttons, who knows. But we were talking about some of like where everybody's at right now. So can you remember where you're at and just kind of
I can kind of remember. I think that the pandemic hit people very disparately, as well as the recovery has been disparate. So, more than 40,000 people lost their job initially when we basically closed the island and closed the hotels and all the residual businesses that support the visitor industry. It was the right decision to make, because overrunning our healthcare system would have been horrifically dangerous to our community. As we come out as we're looking at recovery, you're absolutely right that, oh my gosh, tourists, pent up demand, the desire to come back to Maui has been bringing airplanes here very regularly. In fact, Mayor Victorino points out several times when Maui lands more tourists than Oahu. And look at the differential in infrastructure and population. So I think, as you mentioned, we're having some growing pains here to reaccommodate our visitors because there was no ramping up. It was,
That's
we were
right.
pretty much closed one day. And, within a short period of time, we were back to almost pre-pandemic numbers.
Yeah.
That there's been some growing
Yeah.
pains, some painful experiences on that for everyone involved. And some businesses are booming. There's no question about it. Other businesses have not been able to find staffing. There's no question that Maui had a large outmigration during the pandemic. Young people in particular who were in many of the visitor industry jobs left. But what we saw was a big in-migration. And I'm going to use this word, but it's not my word because it may have negative connotations. It's Paul Brubaker's word.
Okay, I'm gonna blame
Yes,
Paul too.
we're going to blame it on Paul. But he called them the vagabond residents. So I think what that means in a good way is that they have enough resources that they can have homes and roots pretty much anywhere, and their jobs allow them to work anywhere. So they saw Maui as a beautiful, safe, low infection rates place to do their work. So one of the new Zoom towns in our state is West Maui. Lots of homes were purchased in West Maui by new residents that were quite affluent. A private school on West Maui, which is a beautiful, wonderful school. I think I saw an increase in its enrollment significantly with people bringing children to enroll children because they were able to offer in-person education. So with that, there's been economic fallout. Our already exacerbated housing stock and infrastructure that was already priced so high that it's hard for residents and the workforce to afford. Just this past week, Maui posted over $1.1 million for a median cost of a single family home. And that's really driven by not enough inventory, no inventory.
Right.
So, and demand, but still pent up high demand and of course, low interest rates, et cetera. So that's one of clearly an infrastructure piece that we need to more aggressively look so that we can continue to build a resilient, resident trained, skilled workforce for the
You were just
future.
lobbing that over to me. I appreciate that. And you and I have been working on this workforce resiliency initiative for a couple of years. And so I thank you so much for just feeding that. But I want to unpack some of the terms that you used. One of them was this Zoom community, like a Zoom town. Is that what?
Yeah,
That's so
Zoom
perfect.
Town. Yeah, so Kauai, our other sister neighbor island, also located as a Zoom town, and
What?
the concern is, Maui has had the highest unemployment rate
Mhm.
throughout the pandemic, but with April and May numbers, I'm sorry to say, Kauai
Oh,
has jumped ahead of Maui County. They're at 11.3. Maui County as at 10.4, mainly because Molokai and Lanai rates are
mhm.
not as high as Maui Islands rates. And the U.S. overall, the U.S. unemployment rate for May of 21, which is the most recent that the U.S. Department of Labor has out, is 5.5. So, we're still very significantly high.
Yeah.
But what has happened is that those Zoom communities
Right.
and the pandemic and the remote work has forever changed the structure of the labor market.
Yeah.
It was not just this one time reaction to the pandemic. There's no question it has forever changed the labor market. And we think, as economic developers, we think it has really positive opportunities for Hawaii and the workforce of Hawaii to offer different kinds of work,
Mhm.
different choices of work, than what an overly dependent on the visitor industry economy and jobs have
Okay.
created.
Stop right
So
there. Stop right there.
we,
Let me interrupt you on that because I'm curious when you look at remote work, define that for me because people sometimes get a little twitchy when we say remote work.
yeah,
Like, people are going to come in and steal our jobs here in Hawaii. So define that just a little bit for me. Help me understand that. Flesh it out a little bit. Remote work. What is that? What do you think that
absolutely.
is?
So remote work gives us the opportunity to connect with a global employment and workforce base and purchasing base. It doesn't limit us to what is physically geographic available on our island state, in our island county. And who comes to us to purchase goods and services, and the jobs to service only our visitors and our residents. So it's exciting, but what it requires is that very digitally literate workforce, which is, our shared goal for the resiliency
Yes.
plan,
Yeah.
to have the skills to work. I think that our most remote geographic communities who have some of the smartest young people, I know that firsthand because we run STEMworks programs there in Hana, on Molokai,
Yes.
and Lanai. It opens those young people up to global employers. We have seen it the other way around. We've seen some of the big tech firms from Silicon Valley and the continental US have employees that can work anywhere in the globe, and they have chosen Maui County, Kauai, parts of Hawaii. And many of them, I'm not bashing them, many of them have been extraordinarily supportive of our community. They're mentoring our young people, they're helping them get jobs. But we have the opportunity now with an ever changed workforce structure to connect our young people and our residents with those global employers. While it's not geographic specific anymore,
Yeah.
they can stay home. We're not exporting our culture when we export our young people,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
exporting our creative, talented, brilliant minds, of which our young people are.
Yeah.
And so that's what we really, really have to work together on,
I like it.
that connective tissue, if you will, for our talented young people and workforce with global employers that do not have to be located here. We can attract every business to our state. So how do we look at it remotely?
That's
So
perfect. That's perfect.
that's what I meant.
When we talk about remote work, thanks for like building that out and fleshing that out because I think I said people when I said have said remote work before because we don't want people stealing our jobs. And they get all twitchy and I said no 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 no. The whole dream and even when we talk about computer skills or digital upskilling, it really is not the end goal to have computer skills. The end goal is to be able to live in Hawaii, to stay
Yes.
in on the Aina. like you don't have to move. Hey, Vegas is not Hawaii. I don't care what people says. It's not the whatever island. If you want to stay here in Hawaii, there's opportunities. And I think what you're describing for like some of these super super smart kids that we have, these students, is available not just for them. And so I think sometimes people tend to go, hey, we have smart kids because Molokai, where they're always winning
Oh my
the
gosh,
robotic stuff. It's
robotics, they're
crazy.
kicking it in robotics, and they have for over a
Yes.
decade.
Yes, yes, and they just on fire all the time. Represent, farmers. But then what happens is sometimes people who are
Oh,
35, 45, 55 even, if you're 55, you're in the prime of your life. I just want to tell you that right now. I'm just saying, I'm talking to myself just in case I hear this. But what about those people? There's still 15, 20, 30 years left in the workforce. And I'm saying that there's still opportunities for remote work.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And, quite frankly, for more seasoned senior members of the workforce, absolutely there is opportunity with digital skills, digital literacy, digital project management. There's no question about that. That could actually continue to sustain your time in the workforce. But what we have seen in Maui and across the rest of the nation and Maui County, when we're talking about how the pandemic has really forever changed the labor market, not only do we have an out migration of some of our young people, particularly in the service industry, but we also saw a lot of baby boomers at close to retirement make that decision to leave the workplace and retire because 401ks were looking good, right? And they realized, I think, big events like a pandemic, there's no question it makes people reevaluate what they really want to do, what's important, reprioritize, etc.
Yep.
And so that a lot of baby boomers did exit and take their retirement. So we saw that.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing that back up. I like that.
Room for millennials who feel they've been stuck forever behind baby boomers who won't retire from senior management positions. It's leaving some room for upward mobility for millennials.
You're so funny because you skipped my entire generation in that, right? You went baby boomer, millennial, and we are the 13th generation, Generation X, and we're always.
It's room for Generation X and millennials to move up.
Thank you very much.
Because baby boomers did, exit, and that, we've seen that here in Hawaii and, even locally here in Maui. There's no question about that. But, employers also saw work from home increase productivity. There was this big fear, how will we be able to regulate if our workers are really, being able to concentrate and produce, et cetera, et cetera. Well, only 14% of employers surveyed thought that they had reduced productivity from their workforce. Most so look at that huge percentage of employers that have seen great increases in productivity from their workers. But as I started my comments with, that's disparate. It was people who were very digitally literate, that had jobs that incorporated a lot of computer access, computer connectivity with clients and product to be able to have the ability to work from home. And so people whose jobs didn't have that, again, were the ones that have suffered the most economic challenges and pain during the pandemic and loss of jobs.
Yeah.
So
that's the thing. That's the thing that I think, and we've been talking about that for like a good solid 12 months now. And I believe one of the first things that, and this project that you and I worked on was, what are those skills that are going to be necessary for the future of work? And we were thinking, this is pre-COVID, right? So this was 2019. We're talking about resiliency in the workforce. And that was one of the things that you had brought up, that we need to have a resilient workforce to be able to bounce and recover from things that we can't anticipate in the future. And I remember being in a meeting with you and pointing to a screen behind me. Here, there's some future things coming up. We don't know, AI, automation. And there's that virus. What was it called again? What was the coronavirus? I remember being in the WDC office, forgetting what the name of the coronavirus was. because it was so new. And then all of a sudden now, what you're saying got highlighted, right? Like if you don't have a computer, you don't have broadband access, you don't have the skills to get on it. You not only can you not take advantage of the opportunities, you can't even get to the baseline. You can't fill out UI stuff. You're not one of those people who are ordering food and getting it delivered to you. It's just crazy. When you think about the future of Maui, so we did a little bit of here's where we were, here's where we are now. I'm talking Maui specifically, and I know the county, Lanai, Molokai, Maui County, they're all different. Just think of the same.
Absolutely.
East side, west side is different. North side, south side is different.
Absolutely.
How do you deal with that? How does Maui function economically with these three different almost entities? They're islands. How do you approach that mentally? How does a Maui approach that county-wide thinking for economic development?
That's a very good question. I think a question that we've long everyone worked on and still have a ways to go. Just how, let's just say, just how neighbor island residents sometimes feel like things are Oahu centric in decision making. I know that Molokai and Lanai and Hana, and rightly so, sometimes feel that things are Maui centric. So I think since I live on Maui Island and have lived here for 40 years, I think, I my personal observation is to empower community based decision making and community voices from within to look at targets and goals and economic development, and empowering and giving voice is the way, not to try to impose a
Mm-hmm.
general structure of economic development, but to listen
Mm-hmm.
and allow each community, which, as you said, is very, very different.
Yeah.
Even on Maui Island, the communities are very different from Pukalakawau to Lahaina. Very different.
Yeah. Yeah.
So each community has to have a voice in their economic development. And then what tools and what infrastructure are needed to help them reach those economic development goals and targets. And that was a little goal for all across. This is not just for Maui County, but all the economic development boards across the state will be entering into a 5-year strategic planning process called the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy that's required by the U.S. Department of Commerce. And we will be going into all of our respective communities to listen and hear what the needs are to build and strengthen our economy and diversify our economy.
Gotcha.
And that is required to get federal funding. But it also is to help support the Workforce Development Council's efforts as well, to guide them on where we're training people, where we're upskilling people, so that we have that resident workforce to support those economic development targets. Yeah. So just please be on the lookout, and we are encouraging everyone to want to have a voice in that process. It has to be organic. It has to come from the community.
I think you're right. Obviously, I'm a big fan of yours, so I would hold signs for you, on the road, and the way that you think. But the interesting thing for me is that people in Maui County think that a lot of workforce. I've heard this a lot. That a lot of workforce development, economic development is very focused on Honolulu. It's like Honolulu centric. And then you mentioned Hana, and I got shout out to my family out there, Hana Kianai, and then I'm on Molokai. Right, well I'll be there. We're leaving tonight. Got to cut my grass. But so I tend to go, no, we want to pour out resources and be Molokai centric or Hana centric or Pahala centric, on Hawaii Island. We have so many people we're working with on Kauai that, like, I talked to one of the computer instructors who is coming out of Kauai Community College. His name is Eric, and he's bright. He's like I said, I'm trying to get some free computers over to you, and he's like, well, it has to have this kind of security for the browsers. And I'm like, I'm super lost. But he is so passionate about reaching his community and making sure that everybody is digitally literate. And we're just lucky to have him. We're lucky to have everybody on these islands. And there's no, I feel like, I should be saying this. I'm not downing or getting negative on Oahu. But sometimes it is, you're way down in Hana. That's a long drive. Takes a while for resources to get to you, and I'm being a little facetious.
It's a long drive. It's a long drive into Kahului,
Yeah.
To get resources from our community seat, right? In Kahului and Wailuku, where most services are. So it really needs to be driven by those communities and the leadership. Now it is so sad to see the road to Hana right now with so many visitors on it that are not being as respectful as they should. That is a resident community, and it is the intersection road to get, and that being respectful on that very narrow road is important. And hear some of the stories that are happening. I'm hopeful that we'll come up with a way to better manage, looking at carrying capacity and resource management for our visitor industry, because those small communities are the most hard hit because they don't have the infrastructure to manage beyond what they're able to do.
One of our challenges, I'm getting some kind of terrible streaming quality here, so YouTube is messing with me. But this is one of the big challenges for us too. If we can't have,
I'm so sorry.
Legit, no, I'm not blaming you.
Huge.
if we can't have legit, reliable, 5.9, they say, right, 99.9999%, uptime, reliable internet connection, how can we compete? How do we play this game? And I got chastised and kind of scolded 6 or 8 months ago. Alan Tang, I was talking to Alan and say, hey, I don't want to be competitive. Sometimes it's that Hawaii thing. You don't want to put yourself forward. And he goes, Ka'ala, you need to be. And Hawaii needs to be competitive. We need to compete with the rest of the world. And what do we need to get there? So I'm like, whoa, well, bring it then. Let's stand and bang. Max Holloway.
I think I'm losing you.
Oh my goodness, where are you? Darn it.
I think I'm losing you. I'm here. Are you still there?
I am. And now let's do a little bit of technical. Let's do a little technical troubleshooting here. Are you wired in or are you on a wireless connection?
Can we do a technical reset? Yeah, I can wire in different. Want to let me do that real quickly?
I mean, if you got that kind of skills,
let me try.
Pop it in, yeah.
And you're right. Broadband is the most important thing that we need to level the playing field for Hawaii, period. And there'll be a political and community will around that.
Yeah. I think what happens is people don't know. You go do your thing, and let me wax eloquently, hopefully, on this need for broadband, because what happens for us is if we don't, it's hard for us to get to this place where we can be able to take advantage of some of these opportunities. And it's not just work, it's also the learning opportunities. So towards the end of 2020, Microsoft, for example, started their big skills initiative, which is, their goal was to try and upskill 25 million people around the world. So they opened up all of these free trainings, and it's good stuff. And the free trainings were along 10 pathways that were, number one, upwardly trending jobs. Number two, there was a good amount of money you can make from it. So you can make a legit living wage, and not just in some middle part of the continent, but in Hawaii. And then the last thing was Microsoft Skills Initiative was that these 10 pathways had skills that you could learn online. And so they were like, let's do it, 25 million around the world. But like Leslie was saying, if you don't have broadband, you can't get that. And if you don't have a computer to utilize that broadband, it doesn't matter. But if you have the broadband and you have a computer and you don't have any digital literacy skills, you don't have any computer skills, you don't know how to access this learning opportunities, you cannot play the game. So there are all three legs of the stool. You're not going to be able to sit down at the table on this stool not all three if all three legs are not there. So that's where we're at. I'm trying to see if I can find Leslie and see if she connected in here. I'm getting some kind of crazy bit rate things, and this is some of my Leslie. How are you? Are you there?
Here, but it doesn't look like it's any better quality.
Yeah, I don't know.
It looks like I'm getting a big delay.
I've been doing some testing at different places, and one of my frustrations right now is this place in Waimanalo. It's the Kupuna housing over there, Department of Hawaiian Homelands, and I've been helping them set up some computers. I send my kids over there to help set up computers, and we're going to all the aunties and uncles' houses. But we've been taking speed tests, and they're getting really, really slow speed, like 10 megabits per second down.
Wow.
15. Like you can't even do a Zoom call. You know, the Zoom recommends 25, and they don't know. And I'm trying to figure out how to get faster internet connection there. Maybe a MiFi, because they can't get Spectrum, they can't get Hawaiian Tel, all kinds of legal things going on. But Leslie, let me bring you back to. I'm trying to just figure out what Maui needs for the future, and a little bit of your vision for Maui, and how long maybe even that's going to take. Because we're talking about digital literacy, it's going to be years. But where can Maui be? What is this alternative picture of the future that you're envisioning when you're laying, out on your back deck, looking at the mountain in the afternoon? What are you thinking about for Maui and for Maui's economic and workforce future?
Well, you did wax eloquently, thank you, on the need for digital broadband absolutely investments because it's so disparate across our state. It was heartbreaking during the online learning when our schools had to, become fully online educational nodes. We had a bus that went to Hana to try to provide broadband there. It was, and even pockets of Maui Island itself, it's very disparate. So that has to be our number one investment. It covers every sector of our economy, every sector of providing support to our community, our families, and it levels the playing field on what kind of educational opportunities and career pathways are available. So the good news is I know there's been a broadband HUI that's been meeting for months now. I'm part of the Economic Development Alliance of Hawaii, our organization. All the economic development boards are part of that, and we just recently got an award from Ed, actually, to look at a broadband master plan. How do we get there? Where do we strategically make those investments to make sure that our broadband serves all first and foremost, I think. And then all the jobs that we are talking about that are for our future will, will play out. We saw with the pandemic, our organization did a lot of coaching on how to retool and reboot your businesses to be able to have an online presence and to be able to have e-commerce. So e-commerce is going to be a huge continue. That was not a one-time thing. That is going to continue. We did a lot of training to help people that were customer service agents, customer service employees in retail stores become chatbot literate to give customer service online.
Nice.
And we also know the one thing that's exciting about the future for Maui and the future for our entire state and is entrepreneurship. We know that homegrown businesses are the businesses that will root here and stay. And investing in the entrepreneurial skills of our young people and our businesses is just as important as broadband. But broadband will be an enhancing infrastructure for that. So we saw the EIN numbers with the pandemic shoot up. As most economic challenges, crises, you always see a big boost of people opening their own for those businesses to thrive and become employers, and see that entrepreneurship is also an employment pathway with workforce development.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like there's so many different ways for us to start businesses now. And a lot of people think we're going to be entrepreneurs. We need $100,000, the brick and mortar, but e-commerce, starting businesses online is something that you can start out as a side hustle, or, you can, like my son and his fiance are 100% e-commerce online entrepreneurs. And he tells me $500, $1,000, we can start an e-commerce business in 6 months, 0 to sales in 6 months. So pretty excited about this kind of stuff. I love what you're thinking. I love how your brain works, and the fact that you're in Maui and contributing to Maui County and ultimately to the rest of us, because it's like as one island goes, all of us kind of go. We're all in this canoe together.
We're all interconnected. There's no question about it. We all have the unique components that make us different, but in the end, the common denominator is we share the common denominator.
Yep, exactly correct. Common denominator. I love it. We're in the same canoe. Shout out Nino Thompson. As the canoe hoolies, we all get wet, and if the canoe is going, then we all get to where we want to go. So, Leslie, any last thoughts before we go? I'm gonna try and put where is my pretty the video here of this. This was again pre-opening again.
Yes, but that was definitely during the pandemic when boats weren't allowed to go. Well, that gives some boats going out. Yes, okay. That today, if I can look out to that from the tech park, and there are a lot more snorkel boats out there right now, which means we have a lot more tourists here.
Oh my goodness. Any last thoughts about what we've been talking about? Anything you want to say?
I really think that right now there is great community will, political will, to know that we have to make some long-term investment in upskilling our workforce, building that resilient workforce, diversifying our economy. What I do hope is that because we're seeing incredible interest and demand to come visit Hawaii, to reboot the visitor industry that was closed basically during the pandemic, and those jobs are coming back online and people are going back to work. I do hope that we will remember the lessons learned of the pandemic and how fragile our economy can be when we're so dependent on one economic sector, and that we will continue we not be lulled complacency because the visitors are back.
Right.
That we will make long-term investments in workforce, our broadband, and knowing that our connectivity and our skills in digital literacy and digital excellence are really the future of our state. To harken back to Queen Kahumanu's wanting her people then, the nation of Hawaii, the most literate nation on the globe. I think we should be really inspired by her legacy and her vision, and translate that to digital literacy and excellence vision for our state today.
That's beautiful. And in fact, speaking of Ka'ahumanu, I was talking to one of the librarians, the head librarian, Irene, over in Hana, because we were trying to get computer classes in Hana, and it's hard to get computer instructors over there. But turns out that she had a couple people who work for Microsoft who said, "We'll volunteer," and they came in and they did it. But she is part of the Queen Ka'ahumanu Society or something, and she really, really loves what the Queen was doing back then, and even are connecting to this here and what we're talking about in upscaling people. So if you live in Hana, you know, the library, we're getting some classes out there. We're also putting some libraries. I'm going to be on Molokai tomorrow doing a computer class at 9 o'clock at the library. So speaking of libraries and some of our Maui County islands. But one last thing I forgot to talk to you about. It's this job fair here. Let me see. Why am I on it? Can you see this?
Yes, I can see it, and thank you for showing it. Our local American Job Center, our Maui County American Job Center, which is located we have two locations, one in the new business center, the new county business center over by Target, and then we have the adjunct expanded one that's in the Maui Mall, right by the theaters. So please, you can make appointments there and see the very talented, dedicated people, professional workforce development people that will guide you. So the big job fair is August 4th. It will be virtual from 1 to 3 and then in person from 3 to 6. But the important thing is, if you really want to maximize what you get out of that job fair, there are some lead up events each Wednesday. So there are 2 more of them leading up to make sure that your resume is in order, that you're registered, that you can even take a pre-test about your skill sets, about what you might be interested in as far as a job, so that when you go into that job fair and meet with employers, you really are ready to present yourself in your best light with the talents and skills that you can bring to that job and that employer. And also for employers, there's still some room. It's filling up quickly. So I know most employers have some needs right now to bring people back to work, and have openings. So employers, this is for you as well as job seekers.
Great. Thanks for I pulled this up and I'm happy that we could talk about it. Because one of the things that I know was that I'm doing one of the lead ups the week before talking about remote work, but I didn't know this whole thing was going on. So thanks for clarifying what I'm doing. This is super, super critical. And you all on Maui have been doing this for a while now. Like, this is not your first time doing it during this pandemic. And people are looking for work, looking for jobs. One of the things that you brought up though was this idea of interviews, getting your resume ready. You know, I've been seeing people having to do online interviews, like online videos.
Absolutely.
That's kind of 2021.
Yes. So, learning how to do that especially is really great. And so, and there are people there at the American Job Center, whether you make a virtual appointment or you go to either location, you do need to make an appointment. And if you're going in person, please wear a mask. Whether you're vaccinated or not, the protocol is to wear a mask that will help you and guide you to maximize. Yes. And the best resources are located on the easiest URL there is, Maui County Virtual Job Fair.com. Again,
that is
Maui
so good.
County Virtual, I can remember that, and there are just so many resources that are available there, from all kinds of tutorials. So please scroll around and click around on that website. I'm sure you'll find something to help you in your job pursuit. It also happens to be co-located with the Maui Business Resource Center, where you can find information on starting your own business as well.
Super. Leslie, thanks for powering through this with our technology issues and challenges.
That's good. Sorry
real
about
life.
That.
That's not you. That is not you. I used to blame myself.
Know, but we tried.
We did. I used to blame myself when my computer didn't work. Now I blame my computer, and now I want to blame my internet connection.
So my question is, was my verbal sound, did sound come through? It's just a fuzzy picture, or?
Yeah. Right now we're pulling back the curtain on this, but you're a little bit fuzzy. But now you're super, or getting more and more clear, and our stream speed, the bit rate is super healthy. I just can't tell you. I can't tell you why. Maybe
I know
I should have
I'm
told all
showing
my
full power over here too.
Yep.
So I
told
don't
my
know.
kids, no TV watching, no computer stuff. Don't take any stuff from my stream. But we our internet speed is triple digits. I'm checking it all the time. I'm pretty fanatical about that. But it's just so hard when we're here in Hawaii, we're far away. I thought that internet connections just kind of happened. Like they showed up somehow. It wasn't until the broadband Hui and Bert Lum trying to help me, like, no, this is not Elon Musk here. We don't have satellites. We have to get cables. So it's been real interesting for me, and I want to thank you for being on this stream and letting me show, not just pictures of you, but beautiful pictures of Maui. So let me end this up. Let me wrap this up. For those of you who have stuck through this live stream with us, mahalo. I told you, Leslie, you're probably on it because Leslie is so smart and want to get some perspective. I'm gonna have to bring Leslie. Leslie, can I bring you back and do this again when we can get some good internet connection?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Let's do it again. It's always fun with you, Carla, because thank you for your passion and commitment to upskilling our workforce.
Oh, that's very nice. I appreciate your appreciation. So we'll definitely get it back on this thing. That is something that has become a little bit of an obsession for me. So if we're going to be competitive, let's Max Holloway this. Let's stand Hawaii up and let's do this. So part of our objective at the WDC is to upskill our workforce to be prepared for any kind of economic things that happen in our future. We're dealing with the unknown and probably the unknowable. We can't know what's going to happen. We can't predict exactly what's going to happen. And so because of that, we have to be able to flex, adapt, and learn on the go, learn on demand. So that's the big thing for you, for me, for all of us here in Hawaii to move towards resiliency, to be able to bounce back from whatever happens to us. And Leanne, shout out to you, Leanne, over at Olomana Loomis. Her definition of resiliency, ready for anything. So aloha, thank you very much for sticking through this. I apologize for all of our tech problems, and thank you for your resiliency, for all that you all do for our state. So we're out. Aloha. I'm going to be done. Ahui ho. And stopping all these things. Leslie.